it's a lot of money y'all are spending for memories, and memories are everything. I do get it, but some of y'all ain't paying your rent to go, and I don't know if that's a good idea. So Sina Gasnavi is here, and I've invited our resident brilliant genius around money. She actually has a whole book called Get Good with Money, and there's a workbook coming out in November that we are, and it's Get Whole.
Made whole.
Oh, sorry. Made Whole, the practical guide to reaching your financial goals. That comes out in November, but you know what we do. We're going to pre-order that. So when it hits, it'll be a #1 bestseller, as all the rest of the books are. Let me welcome the Budgetnista herself, Tiffany Aliche.
Hey, Karen. Good to be back. I feel like I haven't been back in a while.
It's whenever you come, it's like, it's perfect because there's always stuff going on. We're talking a little bit off mic because I feel like we're hitting the 80s again, you know, where real estate is skyrocketing at the same time as the interest rates are high. So properties cost a lot. The interest rates high. Used cars are like more expensive. And now credit cards, like we used to be able to get like 1%, 0%. Now it's like back up to 19, 20. It feels very 80-ish right now. For some, it could be opportunities, but for the vast majority of us, I feel like we're going to end up digging a hole for ourselves that's going to take 10 years to dig out.
No, this is true. Like, interest is not bad for everyone. If you are a borrower, then yes, it means things are going to cost more money. If you are a saver and potentially an investor, then yes, you have the potential to make or save more money. So you have to decide what side of the line you're going to be on. You know, like, yeah.
So, you know, I was doing a CD ladder back in the day, because the interest rate had gotten up to 1%, and I was so excited. And now it's like 4%. I get 5%. I'm like, yo, this is like the 80s again. Yes, crazy. When I didn't have no money to put in the CD, now I'm like, all right, back to the CD ladder, which is great. What advice can you have for people? Because I feel like for those who have been saving during the good times, this is a great time to invest.
Yes.
But
well, number one, first things first. I mean, so many of my friends have been losing their job. So many of my friends who make 6 figures and were feeling good about it, you know, like 100, 120, or all of a sudden, like, it doesn't feel like enough, and they're not big spenders because things are costing so much money that $100,000 just doesn't do what it used to do. And so first things first, before you jump into the I want to make more money pool, I want you to put on your seatbelt before you invest in a Gucci belt, right? And that seatbelt is your savings. I need you to save. And now is actually a good time to save because, to your point, Karen, I actually just moved. I have 1 year's worth of savings, and I moved it out of my high yield savings account because there was a no fee, no penalty CD that like generated like more interest for me. So I put my 1 year's worth of
emergency fund? Yeah.
Yeah. So I put it there instead, you know, and so you don't have to do 1 year. I'm just extra, and I'm always worried. So that's why I have my 1 year, at least 3 months. Or how long do you think it's going to take you to replace your income should you lose your job? If you're a nurse, 3 months is more than enough because you guys are always in demand. My sister, she's a Black woman. She's an engineer. It took her a year to find her first job. So 6 months might be what she's wanting to aim toward, if not more. And so that's what I would do before I did anything else, is I would secure the seatbelt by putting savings aside. We have to figure out a way to, one, you have to earn, right? No matter what. Someone was asking me the other day about investing, and she was like, you know, I want to start to invest, you know, but I lost my job in January. And I was like, sis, what?
You got it backwards.
I mean, because I was like, how you going to invest this? Ain't no money coming in. You have to have income. It shocked me that I had to say that. Like,
oh yeah.
First things first, you got to make some money. Whatever that's going to look like, you got to have some income. Second, you have to figure out how you're going to live below your means. You have to, because there has to be an exit.
I know Sina wants to jump in. I was sharing with the family here. We had a conversation, and you said that you live off of like 10% of what you bring in or something like that. And I was like, that is so brilliant to live, because once you get used to living off of 10%, because you don't know, because you're not working for somebody, and you don't know when the economy, because when it's good, you think it's never going to stop. But as my grandmother used to say, every bird fly high must come down. Like, so you having that kind of foresight, has that always been, or was that recession thing that you hit and you were like, oh, I could be without a job for a while?
Well, first of all, 10% is not realistic for most people. So I want to, be honest about that it's only because my business has afforded me to make in excess so much more than I could have ever imagined, that my 10% is a lot of people's 100%. So I do not expect anyone to live at 10%, so that's one. But you have to get below, whatever it is that you're making. And if you can't spend less, which sometimes that's understandable, you're going to have to figure out how to make more. Is that something that I hate to suggest side hustles to people, but there are some things that you can gently incur more income, whether that's like when I was a school teacher, I used to tutor on the side. I used to babysit on the side. So it wasn't so overwhelming. Not everybody's built for Uber. Can you rent out? You might live in a city. Can you rent out your driveway? There's some sites where you can literally rent out if you have a home, you can rent out your garage for storage. You can be creative with making more money where it doesn't require you to put more labor in, quote unquote. So you have to get below your means, whether it's making more, spending less, or doing a mix of both. And that's critically important always, but especially during times like now.
Yeah, I really love that, living 10% of what you bring in. I hope to get to that 10%. Like you are at 10%, which is other people's 100%, but I'm almost there. I wanted to ask about the high yield savings that you moved it from that to a CD. Apple just came out with their savings account, their credit card and stuff like that. I got all excited about it. I started using it all the time for like my daily expenses and stuff. What's your read on the Apple card and their high yield savings? How does it compare to others? And what does this also say to you about tech companies getting into this space in general?
Well, you read the fine print, right? So last time I checked, I don't know if you can be grandfathered in, but when I read up on it, I remember reading something to the effect of like, you have to have put in like $10,000 in order to get the full amount of the interest that you would incur. Now, I'm not sure if that was what I remember reading an article when it first came out, but so read the fine print. If Apple is giving you 4%, 5%, you want to make sure with any high yield savings account that there is no minimum deposit required, in order to get that money, because people get excited and then you read must put in $1 bajillion. You're like, wait, I don't have $1 bajillion, And so you want to look to see, like, one, most of these places don't, they don't charge fees for your savings, but they might. So you want to be mindful of that. Two, there's no minimum required deposit in order to get the maximum amount of interest earned. Three, it's FDIC in short, because we have seen banks go under, down, through. And so we don't play. FDIC insured means that you will get up to $250,000 you are insured per depositor, per bank. And so you want to make sure that, like for me, I had to switch some money around. My financial advisor emailed like all of her clients and was like, hey, if you have money here and money here, you might want to split it into 2 different banks. So that way you're fully insured. So I had to do that to make sure I was fully insured. And so like, that's what I would look at. So I'm not surprised, because tech companies are always sniffing out for where the money is. Apple's also getting into like health insurance, right? That's why they love that Apple Watch. They're like, well, we know half y'all have high blood pressure, because we were reading your, we know half y'all not exercising. So now we know what to offer you. Like, hey, Tiffany, notice you're stressed. Here's some stress medication. And so like tech companies are always going to try to suss out where they can make the most amount of money by first offering what seems to be this altruistic service, and then using that service to read the room and then sell you back a product or service. So it's not a bad thing, but just read the fine print.
But isn't it a bad thing? In the first 4 days, Apple got $1 billion in deposits.
Yeah.
The first 4 days.
How was 900 million of it.
I'm saying though, Cena, how do you trust Apple?
I trust it more than Blue Cross Blue Shield, United Healthcare. I trust it better than JP Morgan. Apple, I've been using Apple products since I was 8 years old. So they got trust. I mean, I haven't had a checking account since I was 8 years old, and I know it's a walled garden. They're really obsessive about details. I mean, I see these guys out there and, it is weird. The thing that I think we all should remember is we can't trust any of them. We can only trust ourselves and the people that we bring into our circle, our chosen family.
Speaking of that, bank after bank seems to be going belly up, but then other banks come and swoop in. And I feel like it's turning into like there was a bank, something like this similarly happened in the 80s. I'm like, what is happening here? Where these banks are now coming in and now you're going to just have three options.
Yes.
I don't think this is good, Tiffany. So moving forward, like I was saying before we announced that you were here, 10 years from now, because I like the plan, like 5 years in advance, 10 years. While we don't know what's happening, gold is down, like where are safe places? The mattress can't be it. Your bra can't be it. Refrigerator, freezer, and a special box cannot be it. Where would you advise people who have been austere, have been saving their money over the last few years? Where would you advise them to go?
A mix, right? So looking at myself, I mean, I believe in business ownership. It's not for everybody. It's not for the faint of heart, but certainly it allows me, especially as a Black woman, the opportunity to set my income level based upon, how much work, for the most part, I'm willing to put in, because obviously there are societal things that keep me back, like racism, sexism, all the isms. But still, at least, I could not have done what I've done at a regular job, so that's one. It's like, like I said, entrepreneurship is not for everybody, but diversifying where you put your money. I invest in business, I invest in real estate, but light. I just bought a condo in Newark. And so I have my house now. I bought this house in Newark for $180,000. It was a foreclosure, put 180 into it. It's now worth over $500,000. The condo that I just bought is about $500,000. So that's $1 million in real estate. And so it's Newark, which, everybody poo-poos Newark, but let me tell you something.
It's
places, what?
Yeah.
I mean, like, you can't even buy anything here, Karen, I promise you. And so I was like, there's no way the city where I was born, I'm not going to own a piece of it. So now I've got $1 million in real estate that I can now leverage to borrow, to invest either back into my business, into the market, into other real estate, And so to me, it's the market, meaning the stock market, because no matter what happens, even during bad times, we have to acknowledge that the last 30 to 100 years, the stock market has given an average return about 8 to 10%. So that just is what it is. So the stock market, business, and real estate. So I like to diversify my bucket. And so it's still the same things that it was in the 80s, in the 70s. It's just that you have to just decide like where you're going to start. For me, I started in business, and then business spilled over to real estate. And then after I got strong in that, then I started to join the market where I felt a little more comfortable with guidance. And so the answers are still the same. It's just, what does it look like? Meaning, like, I wouldn't invest in California because I don't have $1 million for a shoebox. I'd be looking at other places around the world. Honestly, so many of these kids are making millions of dollars, hundreds of thousands using social media. That can be a business too. But I tell this to my young entrepreneurs who are on social media making $100,000 a year, is not going to last forever, maybe 2 or 3 years. Save 90% of it.
Yes.
Like investing into real estate, into the market. For some of y'all too young to remember Foxy Brown, but I love me some Foxy, because she was like brown skin, beautiful, sassy, but I remember Foxy said one of the best things that ever happened is that when she was popular, her mother made her invest in, I think she bought a home. She made her buy some laundry mats and some things like that. That's why you don't hear Foxy out here rolling around in the street. Because when I was
just going to say to that point, the influencers, there was a time when you could make $30,000, $40,000 a month on YouTube, right? YouTube now is investing in YouTube TV, and they're stripping the ad revenue. And no matter what so what I see is a lot of desperation. People going live every 5 minutes because that, maybe I can get the people to give me the money, the cash, or they keep posting, and it's like, can I freak the algorithm so I can get more money? And it's not, like I'm watching it, I'm watching it as an observer, and I'm also doing some social experiments, but it's wild to me that that could be the only source of income for people. And now it's cut in half. And if you've been making this money for 3 years, what do you do?
That's why, honestly, if you are not currently, they're trying to take TikTok away. We already see what Facebook has done. If you have not gotten the memo, you don't own access to your audience there, and are not doing like what Karen has done here, which is to shift access to herself, right? So that way, wherever she goes, we go, right? Karen's like, oh, go ahead, girl. All right, I'm gonna talk about me, right? Right? I own access to my audience 3 different ways. First, it started off as email. Right. Then I was like, okay, I don't feel comfortable just doing email. Now I switched to text messaging as well. Right. And now I use this platform called Mighty Networks, where now we have this Dream Catchers group. So 3 ways I own access to my audience. So when all this falls down, because London Bridge is falling down, there are 3 ways that I can hit up my Dream Catchers that I'm like, I'm good.